Hey friends, I have some questions that y'all have asked me and I'm going to answer them today. Let's jump on in. First off, I have a long question that I'm going to kind of consolidate. This person is asking, how do I do a zero-based budget when my income is kind of irregular and I don't know what I'm getting each month? And also, I need help figuring out a moving fund for a family of 4. How do I go about that? So first off, when you do a zero-based budget, it means that you are accounting for every single dollar that you're getting. Now, if you have someone in your family who's working off of commission, or you don't necessarily know exactly what you're going to be getting until the end of the month, you have 2 options. Now, if you're struggling, the second option is probably going to be better, but I'm going to tell you about the first anyway. There is a concept called getting a month ahead. So what you're doing is you save up enough money so you're operating on last month's income, and that allows you to a little bit better plan exactly what you're going to spend your money on because it's already in the bank. That also kind of eliminates a lot of overdrafts, that kind of thing, if you're on the edge. That said, I understand that a month's worth of income is kind of hard to save if you're struggling. So there's also the other way, and the way I did for years, which is just to do an irregular income budget. So what you do is you figure out the minimum that you're going to make that month, and you can do this based off of either salary without commission, or you can take, say, your last 3 to 6 months worth of income, divide it out and figure out pretty much a good number of what you will probably make that month, and set your regular budget based off of that. And then you create a list that is prioritized top to bottom. So any money you make over that minimum amount that you've budgeted, which should cover all your bills, by the way, anything over that, then extra money goes down the line into the categories that you set based off of priority. So if you make $1,000 in a month, you have $800 worth of expenses and you budgeted for that. Then you also have dance class for your kids that costs $50 a month, and you think that's a top priority. You have an old medical bill that needs to be paid, and you have a personal loan to a friend, in whatever order you choose. The extra $200 that didn't go to your regular bills would go down the line until it ran out. All right, Dave also has these really great, Dave Ramsey, by the way, irregular income budgeting sheets, which I will link below. Also, the budget that I do technically is formatted so it's like it's an irregular income because I have YouTube earnings that come in that I never know what they are. So the way my budget is set up, and I will link a video on where you can download my free spreadsheet budget, which has all of the formulas and everything like that. You can just alter the numbers so it fits your situation in there, and it shows that all of my bills from my regular job come out of a set amount of money, since I know that's what I'm going to get, and then anything extra travels down to an outlier box where I decide exactly how to allocate whatever extra money is coming in. When I was in debt, all of that extra money went to debt. Any side gigs went to debt, but there is a box there to add up all of your extra income. So there are a couple ways to do that. I certainly hope that helps. Next up, how to plan a moving fund for a family of 4. Got it. Well, this one's actually pretty easy. If you've moved recently, you probably know about how much moving is going to cost you. That's how I set my moving fund when I moved from Arkansas to Texas, is because I knew how much it cost me to move from Louisiana to Arkansas. It said if you haven't moved in that long, it's just a case of simple Googling. Call around, get some estimates on how much, do some measurements, go on U-Haul's site, see how much of a truck you might need, and write down how much that's going to cost. Figure out where you're going to get your boxes from, whether you're going to get them from free sources like behind grocery stores and Dollar Trees, or if you're going to purchase sets of boxes. Also remember to check Craigslist. Sometimes people give away free boxes there, or on Facebook swap sites. And you just need to make a list of all of your estimated expenses. Make sure to account for gas, food on the road. And here's a fun little tip. When you are about to move and you know you're about to move, you won't be buying as many groceries because you'll probably be trying to get rid of everything that's in your fridge and freezer and pantry so you don't have to move them. But that money is probably going to need to go to eating out because as you're moving, you won't have as much time to cook. So definitely try to use up everything that you have, but also give yourself a nice buffer for gas, incidentals, food, everything like that. I would say once you have your basic numbers, don't forget to account in how much, say you're moving to a new state, you need to do some research on how much rent will be there if you're renting there first, how much deposits would be, pet deposits, all that stuff, and make a big cost list. Estimate how much it would cost to put down deposits on electricity, gas, trash, any of those things. Also, don't forget, if you're moving states, to take into account costs to re-register your cars and everything like that when you go across lines. So you will have a big list of expenses that you can pretty much get a good idea of how much it's going to cost to move. Another tip, don't count in on getting any of your deposits back from your old home to if you're renting, or from any of your utilities for a while. Don't count that into money that you can use for moving, because it'll probably take a little while to get back to you. Once you have that list of expenses, I'd probably round it up a little bit, maybe 5 to 10%. And if you can save that amount of money before you move, because I remember reading in your letter that you're planning on moving, it's not a dire emergency thing, but you could even sinking fund that out once you have a number saying, I have to save this much this month, this much this month, and get yourself a nice, healthy moving fund so that you can do the entire thing with cash. You don't have to charge up any credit or anything like that, and you can move with peace of mind and grace. And I wish you the best of luck in that. Also, just keep a notebook with everything, all of the numbers, all of the costs. It's really a lifesaver. Alrighty, next up. Hi, heard about you from the Dave Ramsey chat room. I'm working on paying off my student loans. I'm waiting until the due date to make a payment, but it's hard seeing that extra money just sitting in my account. I wanted to make the payment earlier, but I want to make sure it goes to principal. Do you have any suggestions? Yes, you don't have to wait until the due date to make an additional payment on your student loans. What you do have to do is make sure that the student loan companies are going to allocate it immediately and not hold it until your next due date or until a future due date, because they're shysters. So what you do is, it just takes one phone call. You call your student loan provider and you ask them, how are extra payments allocated? Now, most of the time they're going to say any outstanding interest that is due as of that date, it has to go pay that first, and then the rest can be allocated to your principal. There's no negotiation room there. Any outstanding interest, they're going to pay it off the top of whatever you're making an extra payment for. Also ask them if there are any fees or anything like that for making multiple payments in a month. There shouldn't be, unless, say, you're, I've heard of this where if you have like 5 or 6 payments, they'll try to charge you a fee. They shouldn't, but I've heard of it. So what I generally did when I was paying off my loans is I had an automatic minimum payment drafted out of my account, and that was because I saved a little bit of interest in doing it. I think it was 0.25% of interest by having them automatically draft out. And then at the end of each month, when I figured out how much extra money I had made from side gigs and how much extra money I had been able to save, I made one fell payment, and I made sure that it allocated immediately to the loan. So once you've figured out how they allocate extra payments, then you just follow those steps. You can tell them on the phone, I just want to make sure you're not going to hold this payment. There should be a way to just check off. I believe there are laws in place now where they have to do this, but it's always worth checking. Should be just a phone call. I only had to call my student loan servicer once, and then just keep an eye on that account balance and make sure that once that payment has been applied, your balance drops by that much minus the interest. So, but yeah, that's wonderful for you that you're paying extra on your student loans. You'll never regret it. Alrighty. Hey BG, I'm fairly new to budgeting and also haven't figured out all the terms yet. Do sinking funds count as savings? Also, your channel is awesome. Thanks for all the advice and effort you put into it. Thank you so much. Yes, sinking funds are essentially saving for a future expense that you know you're going to have. It's a little bit different than regular savings that people generally talk about, if we just have this much in savings, you know, for the general vague future or just something in general in the future. Sinking funds are dedicated. So say you know that you have to pay your car insurance once a year, and you know it costs $1,200, because I'm bad at math. Financial expert who can't do math in her head right now. But it costs $1,200 a year for your car insurance, and you pay it once a year. So instead of waiting until December and needing to come up with $1,200 by January when it's due, you instead decide to set $100 per month aside into a savings account specifically for that car insurance payment. And then the money is sitting there and waiting for you when the due date comes. And you can do this with anything. You can do it with Christmas, or holidays. You can do it with something that's a little less tangible. Say you have a family vacation that's coming up that you need to set aside some funds for so you don't end up charging that on a credit card. You can decide how much you're going to spend, divide it out by how many months you have, and then set aside that much each month. If your car or your laptop were on its last leg and you knew you'd have to buy a new one of those soon, you could set aside money for that each month. So yes, it's savings, but it's dedicated savings. So you're not going to then rob Peter to pay Paul. And now if there were an emergency, of course, you could pillage your savings, and it's always an option, and it's always a little bit of good peace of mind to know, like my emergency fund was only $2,000, but I did have some other sinking fund savings accounts in there that if something really horrible happened, I could always steal from those to deal with whatever situation. So it does kind of help with the security gland a little, and also I was preparing for any situation that was going to come up. So I had a little medical sinking fund, I had a car repair replace sinking fund, Christmas sinking fund, everything. I had a birthday sinking fund where I put aside $4 a month so that I could throw myself a little party once a year and didn't have to worry about the cost of the entire thing. In January, I could just take the money out of that account. So sinking funds can really streamline your life just a little bit and take away some of that regular worry about money. It also helps you not screw up your budget each month. Because as you know, if you've been budgeting for a little bit, if all of a sudden you have this big expense, it throws everything out of whack. But if you can nickel and dime it out and give yourself just a little line and put a little bit aside each month, then when that situation comes up, all you have to do is transfer it over. Not a worry to be had. All right, I'll link a video down below I've done on sinking funds before, or a couple videos. I've done a bunch of them, but I certainly hope that helps you. I would definitely put it in a different place than if you have regular savings like your emergency fund, because it's very easy for the brain to see a big pile of money and forget that it's dedicated for things. I recommend Capital One 360. It's not sponsored. They don't even have an affiliate program anymore. I've just used them for years, and that is because it is a free interest-bearing checking and savings account bank that is online only, and what you can do is you can open up to 25 savings accounts that each have their own number, and you can access them all at once, and you can name them things. So I can log into my Capital One 360 account and go and see the balance in my car repair replace fund. I can see the balance in my birthday fund. I can see the balance in every single fund I have, and it's separate from my emergency savings. So I know that that money is there for a certain reason, and I'm not tempted to move it, ever. All right, last question. Will it be hard for you to get paid only once a month? Now that I am a university/government employee, I am only getting paid once a month, and that is on the first of the month after the month that I work. So I will get paid for June, the month of June, on July 1st. I will get paid for the month of July on May 1st, etc. And honestly, this was not an issue for me at all. I've heard a lot of comments saying, oh my God, how do you do that? Well, you have to budget your money. And it honestly, because I've been budgeting for so long, and I base it, a zero-based budget based off of what I know I'm going to get, or an estimate of what I'm going to get, it doesn't really matter when I get paid, if I get paid every Thursday, or if I get paid every 2 weeks, or if I get paid once a month, because I'm not going to spend more than I'm making. Now, one thing that I did do to kind of keep this under control is that during my first month here, I used my reimbursement from my move to get myself 1 month ahead, like I talked about earlier in this exact video. So because it would be a terrible idea to be spending the money in June that I will make in June, but that I won't get until July 1. So instead, I am currently spending the money that I made in May. Sorry, that I'm spending the money that I made in May and received on June 1st, and next month I will spend the money throughout the month that I made in June that I will get a check for on July 1st. Now, Obviously, any side gigs that you have will come and go as they do and be on a different schedule, but it just, honestly, it didn't even faze me for a second because I don't spend based off of when I get my paycheck. I spend based off of a plan that I've made before the month even began. And it gives you a lot of freedom. I swear, it gives you a lot of peace of mind, and you never have that tropey, I got my paycheck and it's gone this weekend, because I've made a plan for the money and I'm not just gonna go spend it willy-nilly. So yeah, it doesn't matter when I get paid. For me, I think it's fine. Just getting one check doesn't bother me at all. All right, guys, leave your questions below. I absolutely love trying to answer them for you and give you the my experience. And because I've dealt with a lot of these situations. I've dealt with sinking funds and figuring them out and paying off debt and dealing with budgeting issues and moving. And I absolutely, anything I can do to help you guys, I love to do it. So ask me your questions below and I will see you tomorrow, unless it's a Friday, in which case I will see you later.